Hello, all you crypto aficionados, and we got some spicy news for you. So, tomorrow the SEC is having a closed door meeting. Now, I know in the title it says secret meeting. It's not actually a secret meeting, it's actually on the schedule, but it is secret in the way that we won't know what they're discussing. They are not giving us the topics for discussion. My guess is the ETF is on the block. Because you know why? The courts are pressuring them to make a decision and the deadlines are actually coming up in a couple of months. Now, will they actually allow one after this meeting? It could be. I doubt they'll allow one right after this meeting, but remember, there are divisions within the SEC. 2 of the 5 commissioners we know actually favor letting a Bitcoin ETF through. It was Hester Pierce, and I forgot the other name of the other guy. But we know that 2 of the 5 will actually allow it through. And the thing is, we only need 3 of the 5 to make a commissioner decision. Gensler has a lot of influence, and he's the one that's kind of addressing the media for the most part. But he doesn't have sole authoritative power on the SEC. It is a board of 5 commissioners. If another one has flipped, then they might have a little discussion about allowing an ETF through. And the thing is, based on what the courts have said, they're going to need to allow one through anyways. So we could actually get a surprise after tomorrow. I doubt it, but don't count it out. And if we do get an ETF, then we are definitely going above 40,000. I think we're going there anyways, mainly because the Fed alleviated pretty much any kind of fear of interest rate hikes anymore. And they've steadied the market, and I think Bitcoin is just dying to go up at this point. A lot of the institutional money is coming in. BlackRock and Fidelity and others are probably starting to seed their funds. But once it's accepted, they're going to need a lot more funds. And just the seeding of the ETF funds is going to make the price go up. I do think it is institutional buys that are sort of pushing this up right now. And I do think retail will actually come in. Add to the fact that I've mentioned before that crypto liquidity on exchanges is very low because people have withdrawn their BTC into their own wallets, and there's going to be a squeeze in supply and a lot of demand, and that will definitely push it up. We're still stuck just above 35,000 today, about 1,000 points more than where we were a few days ago, but I do think we will actually go up very, very soon. I do hope we can break 40,000 next week. I know it's a long shot, but I do actually think it's possible based on the several factors that we've actually mentioned. So the SEC meeting tomorrow is of great interest to me, and I'm sure there will be some rumors, but I wouldn't really believe in those rumors until the SEC itself has confirmed it. I'm sure if the SEC confirms a Bitcoin ETF, they will post it on their website. So if you see something on the news, make sure to check the source. You don't want to be like last time where they posted a fake news and you basically believed it, because it did dip back, although only for a while. So the thing is, I do believe that there might actually be some news sources that jump the gun, and you will actually want to check to make sure the news is legit. But there is a chance that during this meeting, they'll discuss the Bitcoin ETF, because I think that's one of the top things on the docket. And there is a chance that they decide it's finally time to accept it. Hester Pierce has been saying that for years now, and one of the other commissioners has joined her about a year ago. And they both wrote a dissent letter on Gary Gensler's decision. So if another person actually basically jumps ship and joins them, then the SEC will actually say yes to an ETF. Gary Gensler doesn't have sole decision, and they actually might be meeting to discuss this. And the thing is, look at all the companies that have refiled their ETF to comply with SEC standards. I think the SEC is just definitely running out of time, and that might be the purpose of the meeting. But I wouldn't say this is a super secret meeting to screw everyone, because realistically this was on the schedule, so I don't think we should expect too much from it. But with all the tension building right now, I wouldn't blame people if they thought that this was the final decision whether to actually allow them to have an ETF or not. So this is definitely a good sign. Hopefully they'll actually make a good decision and we'll hear an ETF by next week. But, one's going to be accepted by January anyways, and there is some kind of a deadline approaching in November. So it's a possibility, but I don't think will be accepted yet. But I really hope I am indeed wrong. Solana has soared 80%, and they've had their conference, and FireDancer was actually released on the testnet. Now, FireDancer is this amazing scaling solution that's supposed to help with the blockchain's once frequent outages. Solana, for its part, hasn't gone down in about 8 months, but we haven't really had much usage in blockchains and crypto over 8 months. The thing is, like, Solana has a lot of transactions, but like 90% of those are consensus messages. That's like the validators, like, consensus messages for validating transactions, and a lot of the other stuff is MVB bots, which actually do count as real transactions. But real human transactions are still kind of like few and far between on the blockchain right now. There are people using it, but probably not that much more than most chains at this point. But in the bull run, that's not true. There's a lot of people using it in the bull run. And of course, we know Solana has been infamously attacked and successfully attacked by a lot of DDoS people. So this FireDancer, the scaling solution, should actually help with that. Although I don't even know if FireDancer could really stop a DDoS attack. If people pour enough money into a DDoS attack, it can be very, very hard to stop. And it's very, very hard to trace, either because it's distributed and it's basically denial of service, which means they're just cramming so many transactions. But the more capacity your blockchain can actually tolerate, the more it costs these attackers to attack your blockchain. So with that being said, maybe FireDancer will help it that way. So obviously, they had the Breakpoint conference, and they did announce that the testnet launch of FireDancer, which Web3 development firm Jump Crypto has been building since last August, and it's a new validator client for the network, which Solana Labs founder and CEO Anatoly Yakovenko has said is aimed at increasing speed. Obviously, increasing speed, it doesn't guarantee that a DDoS attack won't work, but it does make it much, much harder for a DDoS attack to penetrate the system. Reliability and validator diversity. And of course, it's been dubbed as the long-term fix to Solana's past network outage problems, which he called the curse. So they didn't actually fix the network outage problems before this, but FireDancer should fix them in theory. Note, I said in theory. We'll have to test it in reality sometime. I'm sure there will be opportunities to test it in reality the next time we have a possibility of outages, and we'll see how Solana actually fares this bull run. If we still get like 4 or 5 outages, then obviously it didn't work. But if it goes through the bull run without any outages, then you have something new for Solana. Of course, that's why Solana has actually pumped so much, and I wouldn't be surprised if Solana went back to like $25 or so after this conference is over, because there's not actually an increase in demand for SOL, but like these kind of conferences always pump it up because people get super excited about their coin at these conferences. They only happen like once a year, and like I think Cardano's pumping a little bit because of its conference right now. Solana's been pumping a lot, Near's been pumping a lot because of its conference, and XRP's been pumping because we're going into swell as well. So make sure that you are aware of why it's actually pumping right now, and you might want to sell in a day or two, as the conference does actually close on Friday, and people will probably want to buy the rumor and sell the news like usual. Elon Musk has taken a shot at NFTs, and it's actually kind of like, I think, a subtle nod to Bitcoin ordinals. Why? Because he just says NFTs are basically just URL links to JPEGs, which he's not wrong. I mean, he says the JPEG should at least be coded on the blockchain, and that's basically giving a direct nod to Bitcoin ordinals, which, if you've been following Bitcoin ordinals, have been pretty much a complete disaster because it completely screwed up the Bitcoin blockchain, made it completely unusable, and jammed it up for weeks. So, I mean, Elon does kind of have a point that like you should want to store at least the data on the blockchain. But that does cause other problems, especially for like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which can't really process transactions that fast. And he quoted and said, "The funny thing is the NFT is not even on the blockchain, it's just a URL to a JPEG," which is true. You should at least encode the JPEG in the blockchain. If the company housing the images goes out of business, you don't have the image anymore. That's true for most cases. If you have an NFT and whoever's hosting the image actually goes down, then your NFT is no good anymore. So there is a real argument for putting the JPEG on the blockchain. But, like with Bitcoin small blocks, it probably doesn't work. I don't know if it works as well with Ethereum. That probably would slow down the network even more. So you might need more efficient storage and more efficient blockchains for NFTs to actually really work on. And that's probably not great news for Bitcoin or Ethereum. But Some of the guys said, like, if you're Elon Musk, you just laid out the case for Bitcoin ordinals, image text inscriptions directly on the most secure open source monetary network on the planet. There are currently 38 million of these inscriptions on the Bitcoin blockchain. But I think people are forgetting how small Bitcoin blocks are and how, like, the TPS will definitely slow down to even more of a crawl if you actually inscribe the actual JPEG on the blockchain, because they won't be able to process nearly as many transactions per second. So it's kind of like a good idea, but it's also kind of like suicide for Bitcoin as well. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.